Moving on from exploit kits, we now go into Android. And as all of us know, Android is the leading emerging technology for mobile phones. And we now have Anant Srivatsava to give us a talk on Android tamer. Anant is working with Infosys Technologies Private Limited as an information security expert. And he's completed his certifications in CEH and RHCE and is one very avid player of a lot of CTF challenges. His main focus is currently on web application security and Android. I request Anant to come on stage and take over.
My talk is basically about Android. Just a quick question, just like the previous session. How many of you are not familiar with Android? Okay, I see a lot of faces. All right. For those who are not familiar with Android, we have 5 different presentations on Android. So keep staying in this room. You'll know a lot more about Android when we are finished with clubhack. Okay. So basically, what I'm talking about today is, like we see a lot of work. Like today also, we see a lot of presentations on Android. Someone is doing forensics on Android. Someone is doing what we say as a security testing on Android. Someone is trying to create some malware, or someone is trying to analyze a malware. Whatever we do, we have one very simple thing, which is we don't have a tool set right now. So let's just see what I've created, and then we'll have your opinion on it. Today's agenda will cover about Android security, why we need it, what are the tool sets that are available right now, what exactly is Android tamer, and some demonstrations. Android basically, for those who don't know much about Android, sitting on that side, Android has 40% plus a phone market. N900 used to be a good phone, but now it's obsolete, so now we only have Android as a device. We have around 10% of tablet market. We have various manufacturers pitching in on Android, which is actually an OS by Google. It's sort of Linux based. Yeah. This was somewhere around 1 month back. Google published some stats that this is the current market trend. It's actually moving up. I've been on the conservative side. No, not exactly that. If I would have gone by that trend, I would have written around 80% and 30% or 40%. Yeah. Yeah, that I know, N900. Okay. Why do you need a security review on an Android device? There are some very basic fundas. Right now, if you look at the smartphone market, we have 2 or 3 basic variants. We have Android devices, we have iPhones, we have Blackberries, and certain Symbian phones and Windows mobiles are there. But majority market, if you look at, we have Android and iPhone. People are using Android. It's a reality. They want to integrate into corporate environment, a reality. How can you be sure that a product which I have not tested could well integrate in a corporate environment? That's where we need a security review. And very basically, every phone, we talk about Android, we talk about iPhones. These are basically an operating system with some softwares running on it. Basically, if you look at the whole PC malicious life cycle, we had simple Trojans as in TSRs. Then we came up ahead with various versions of viruses, rootkits, and everything. Same scenario is going to get repeated over and over with the mobile market now. We've already seen lots of malware in both iPhone and Android. One of them was demonstrated in Malcon around 2-3 days back. So we need to have some kind of a security review, some kind of checks to be done. Now, basically, when we talk about security professionals' point of view for Android, we are basically looking at trying to do some application, platform, or protocol level testing, trying to do an analysis of a Android ROM, what malicious content does it hold, looking at malicious applications for a malware analysis, or going towards the black side, customizing a ROM, generating your own malware and distributing it out. We need some kind of a setup. So we'll look at various talks or whatever presentations you follow online. Whatever we have is, you have to download this tool, you have to download an SDK, you have to download an NDK, you have to download a proxy, you have to download a decompiler, and then configure it on your machine and then use it. That's the general trend. That's where I've stepped in. OWASP on one hand is trying to do some standardization on the mobile security standards. My project is on the other side, building a complete tool chain. So let's say we have a large number of tools which we need to download, configure, and get it running. This is something what I'm creating right now is sort of an alternative for Backtrack. We have Backtrack. Everyone is familiar with Backtrack? Okay, good. So it is sort of Backtrack for Android, where you have all those tools which you need for any kind of Android interaction on a single VM. Okay, so basically right now my VMware application has following basic functionalities. You can do application pen testing, you can do malware analysis, you can have ROM-based modification, you can analyze an existing ROM, you have application or native code development if you want to do native code development or application level development, be it for malware or be it for something else, you have those toolkits available. Alright, going into the background of what the VM is all about, it's actually Ubuntu 10.04, which is the last LTS release, long-term support release. All the non-needed, non-essential softwares have been removed. I am not targeting this VM as a standalone OS for a system. It's actually a complementary OS which will run coexistingly with your existing OS. So basically, you'll have everything, whatever you need for a normal desktop operation on your main desktop, and you use this particular VM only for Android operations. Another thing which I've kept in mind is I've mixed minimum repositories. We have a concept of integrating multiple repositories onto Ubuntu same release. So you have certain new softwares, you add a PPA, and you get that software update. Now the basic problem with this PPA approach is the more you try to add PPAs and other stuff, your upgrade starts failing off. So you won't get a proper upgrade. So I've tried to reduce, only two PPAs are added. One is the Firefox PPA, and the other is a menu-based PPA, which I'm using as a menu. And there is one question that might come up from the audience, that recently there was another VM which was launched named as Android Reverse Engineering ARE Toolkit by Honeynet. The only difference between that product and my product right now is I've tried to trim down its size, point one. Point two, it covers a lot more scope than just malware or reverse engineering. And point number three, it has some kind of an integration. You have paths or default settings configured right inside the VM. So you don't need to do any kind of setup based configurations. Browser has preloaded bookmarks for various things you'll be needing. We'll be looking at the whole VM during the whole session. I've also configured a personal repository, which is my own repository, which will be used to distribute latest versions of various tools, which I have already included. So let's say you have a decompiler, a latest release comes in, you don't have to go and download that latest compiler and again do all the setups. You just have to click on update my system, and it will automatically get updated if I have compiled a package for it. All right. For application pen testing prospect, we require a proxy, which is to trap all the requests. Now the basic problem with Android, which all people who would have been into application testing would have faced is, you can redirect browser traffic, but application traffic redirection is a tricky part. So that's where TSOC proxy comes into picture. It's a transparent socket proxy that diverts all your existing network traffic to a socket proxy. then if you are using any kind of a proxy environment, your emulator or your device will not accept it till you have a valid certificate. So right now the emulator which is configured has the root CA certificate added for OWASP ZAP. You can do the same, the details are available online, but I've customized it because I've given OWASP ZAP, so its root certificate is added into the emulator. So you don't need to do that configuration part also. DDMS is again a debugging engine provided by Google. It's again configured and available to you. I'm right now eating my own dog food. I'm giving the presentation through my Android tamer disk only. I've just tried to do a pun on Android by customizing the Android logo as a dog because we are actually taming the Android. This is the main menu structure. All available on console. Similarly, I'm following a similar tradition as what is followed by Backtrack. So instead of pen test, we have an arsenal folder which contains various tools which you need. Going back to the presentation side. Yeah, just a second. I'll just get back on that and then we'll see it on a detailed manner. Okay, for those who are doing malware analysis, recently there were some GSOC projects which produced the tools like Droidbox or APK Inspector, which are actually single point Android malware analysis tools. They, if you look at Droidbox, it's a one-stop shop. You just select which Android virtual device you want to run, which application you want to install. It will automatically start the emulator, push the APK inside, execute it, do all the tracing, what are the file system changes, what are the parameter changes, or whatever changes that are happening around, what are the logs that are getting generated. All those will be captured and will be presented in a easy readable environment. APK Inspector, on the other hand, is a decompiler sort of a tool. It gives you a direct view of what the APK holds, what are the permission model. It will do a decompilation of the app also using JDGUI or JAD as a decompiler. We have 4 different decompilers available: Dex2Jar, JAD, DED, and JDGUI. It depends upon which one you prefer. Dex2Jar converts your Dex objects files into a jar file, which can easily be used by all the other 3 to decompile out your class files. Smali and Bugsmali are an alternative approach. They have a different format than Java. And we have Android Guard, which is again an Android APK Inspector kind of a tool. So those tools are directly available for malware analysis. For ROM analysis and modification, this is one of the interesting aspects. How many of you actually look around on the various Android-related discussion forums? Anyone ever heard about XDA developers? Okay. And Modoko or similar kind of a development forum? If you look at those development forums, there are large number of threads, discussion threads, downloads available. There are large number of what we say cookers, ROM cookers or ROM makers. They create customized version of your ROMs. What they basically do is, let's say you have a Sony Ericsson handset. You don't like its default UI. You like the UI of HTC. Now you don't want to buy an HTC device. You'll download a customized version of Sony Ericsson ROM which has a UI of HTC. You download it, you run it on your machine. Well and fine, everything working cool, everything going smooth. We recently heard about Carrier IQ. Anyone not aware about Carrier IQ? Okay, Carrier IQ is a company which gives you analytic capacities. It's recently discovered that a large number of service providers in US have been using Carrier IQ which not only track your basic information like how many calls you're making, it also keeps tracking your keystrokes and whatever data traffic is going on. So all that was getting transferred to some remote server. They're claiming that it was anonymous, but who knows. So there is not slight, there is a large amount of chance that the ROM that you're installing might not be as secure as it claims to be. So being a security professional, you can go inside, look into the ROM content, analyze it, see what's wrong with it or what could be wrong with it, and then deduce that you want to use it or you don't want to use it. The other side, or the black side, you want to distribute a customized ROM which contains all kind of good features, which gives you ability to do surfing without paying any charge or something similar. And in return, all you are asking is that you have installed a keyboard application which silently sniffs all your keystrokes back to your own server. So that kind of environment, if you look at, you can do all those with these tools. We have a DSI XDA Android Kitchen. It's basically a singular application which allows you to customize all the aspects of a ROM. We have UnyFFS2, YAFFS, yet another file system format version 2, is the standard format that is used on most of the Android devices. If you look at the recovery softwares or the softwares which are used to take backup of Android devices, they use these formats. So if you want to analyze a ROM or if you want to analyze a backup of a system, you can use these tools to see what is there inside. Split boot image. It's a very simple Perl script. It allows you to analyze the kernel. Android has a very simple format. Like it has a Linux kernel inside. Similar to how a Linux machine boots up, it has a kernel, it loads. Then you have initial RAM disk, which is init RD. It loads in, installs all the basic system, set up all the basic system. Then your main system gets mounted, and then your system starts. Following a similar approach, what Android has done is they've given you boot.img, a single file. That single file contains your kernel as well as your initial RAM disk. So this split boot image allows you to bifurcate the two. So you have a different kernel and you have a different RAM disk. Now if you want, you can change the RAM disk content, again compile it, you again get a boot.img file. For ROM analysis, you can also check the development tools or malware analysis tools which are available. For development, we have Eclipse available. When I'm talking about development, I'm talking about all kind of development. The usage depends upon who is using it and how he is using it. We have NDK available, which is again a faster media to create applications. Not exactly applications, but having a faster interaction. We have Code Source 3 G++ Lite, which is actually ARM compiler, which allows you to compile your existing applications in an ARM port. We have ARM DS5 CE, which is actually a recent release, around 2 or 3 days back. ARM Group has launched Design Studio version 5 with a community edition. This is basically an NDK compiler and a complete design studio where you can design NDK related applications. Now, NDK, I have a very sort of what we call as a hunch. Right now, if you look at the malware landscape of the whole Android market, we find large number of malwares. All can be easily detected if you pay small attentions. Example, look at the permission model. Decompile the source code, you'll find various instances where calls are there. So those are basically checkpoints which we can apply. Now, moving ahead, just like we had in the PC market, there were batch files which acted as virus, then they went to COM files, then they went to executables, and now we have obfuscated executables. Similarly, I can, like as a hunch, I can foresee that there will be a malware landscape where the malware code resides inside an NDK binary, which is a C binary doing all the tasks in the background with just one Java call calling in that particular function. That's it. That's a kind of an idea I have. I I have one friend of mine, Ankur. We both are trying to work out how we can actually give out a demonstration of it, how an NDK-based malware can actually work. So, keeping that hunch in mind, I've included this development studio availability. So you can have that available inside your own machine. Now, this is one interesting aspect which I've added. With any kind of Android-related devices, one of the basic throttle or a bottleneck that comes into picture is you need the device to be rooted. You want to do a bit-by-bit imaging, you need the device to be rooted. You want to install some specific applications, you need the device to be rooted. You want to configure IP tables, you need device to be rooted. So how you do a rooting? There are a large number of methods, large number of ways in which you can do it. 4 basic exploits which are right now available and could be usable are Rage in the Cage, which was available for 1.6, PS Neuter, which worked till 2.1. Then we had Gingerbread, which was available only to specific versions of Gingerbread, which is 2.3.3. And we have Zergrush, which is right now the latest exploit. Works on the basis of overflowing the log and is right now working on 2.3 devices and 2.2 devices. Why I have specifically mentioned various version numbers? Because it's not necessary that one rooting script will work for all devices. Or your device will actually get rooted by any of these methods. It's not a compulsory approach. There is no one-shot approach that will actually root your device. It depends upon how your device is manufactured, how your ROM is customized, or how your ROM is actually compiled. Whether that vulnerability exists or not, it is used or not. We have some APKs as an installable applications, which again works as a rooting scripts. We have Z4 root, we have Super One Click, we have Universal Hand Root. All these applications and stuff are provided inside one folder in Arsenal. So you don't have to go out and look for how to root my device. I've also tried to give out a list of which device is supported by which particular rooting module and if the device is supported or not. Right now, this will be the URL. So source.net/p/Android tamer. It does not contain anything right now. It's blank. But within a week, it will have an initial beta release of the VM. I'm just trying to strip down the size of VM because it's right now 3 GBs, which I think is not a good sign for an Indian bandwidth users. So I'm trying to reduce the size and I'm trying to bring it down to somewhere around 1.5 or 2 GBs, and then I'll push it out. Alright, looking at how the system is, those who are familiar with Android, now the fonts is visible? Okay, yeah. Alright. Some of the basic things, if you look at the path, you already have code source tree available, you already have the SDK tools available, we have the SDK platform tools, NDK tool chain, all these are already available on your path. So you don't need to worry about configuring paths or configuring these softwares. It's already configured on your machine. If you look at the whole Arsenal folder, there are various tools like Android Audit Tool, APK Inspector. We have a large number of collection of binaries which does not have a package, as in they do not have a particular name. They are used as an intermediate binaries. Like you have JAT-GUI, it's used inside all the modules. So all those kind of common binaries are available inside the binary folder. We have Eclipse already configured with ADT and ARM DS5. We have this kitchen which I was talking about. I'll just give you a demonstration of what we can do with kitchen. Then we have the rooting folder which actually contains your rooting scripts. Gingerbread, PS Neuter, Rage in the Cage, rooting APKs, and Zergrush. If you look at Zergrush, it contains an executable bash script. You can actually go inside and see what is going on. And you have various files. wherever possible, I've tried to include the source code which was published by the disclosing authorities, whosoever has disclosed this. So those source codes can actually help you in understanding if you're not feeling comfortable running an unknown binary on your machine. Kitchen is a product, is again a shell script basically. It's developed by one of the XDA developers. Being a shell script, you can easily look around what's going on and how the things are going in. Initially, you start with creating a working folder for a ROM. The ROM could be anything. It could be a customized version of Android, be it CyanogenMod, or be it MIUI, or be it your own service provider's ROM, or your carrier's ROM. Let's say you purchased an extend handset from Sony Ericsson, which is actually my own handset. So you just download the actual update binaries. You set it up as a working folder from ROM. Now the second option is where the things start. Now you have a working folder. You just select add root permissions. So this automatically adds SU binary, which is actually the missing part from the routing fundamentals. So it automatically adds the SU binary, sets up various permissions which are needed. So now you have a ROM available which is pre-rooted. You can add busybox, you can add various other stuff, and then there is an option, check upgrade script for error or show working folder information. Once these are done, you can also look at various options like add bash, add apps to SD, sign APKs. The sign APK format is you have a system folder. Inside system folder there is an app folder. If you put an APK inside an app folder, it's not something which you have installed. It comes pre-installed with your device. So those APKs need to be signed, so you can do a signing of those APKs. You can create a complete ROM with whatever you want, wherever you want, using this kitchen. And then it actually generates out in 2 or 3 different formats and updates it, which is a conventional format if you have a customized ROM, or an updatable binary which you can push around and play with your devices. As well as, right now this kitchen is not maintained. It's available on GitHub. The developers right now stopped doing the development. He has asked that if someone wants to modify, they can modify it. So those modifications, when being pulled up, you can directly update the kitchen using the update script. So those facilities are available. If you look at the menu, this is a menu that I've provided, which contains various other tools. While doing ROM analysis, you will encounter with various database files, which are basically SQLite databases. You can use SQLite database browser or SQLite Man or SQLite Studio, which are 3 different versions of SQLite data browsers. These are available. Droidbox have tried to come up with a single shot approach wherein you start Droidbox and you are presented with a walkthrough. You just move ahead, see which AVD you want to start. AVD stands for Android Virtual Device, and then you actually select which APK you want to run. Once you select that APK, it automatically pushes the APK inside the AVD, runs it, creates a log, and comes out. AVD would be a bit slower on this because I'm running short of memory right now. You can see this ADB logcat window is open, which is waiting for the device to come up. As soon as the device starts, it will start pulling out various logs which are available on device. point why I've started it out and why I've posted it out on source code is I don't meant to stop at this point. This is just the beginning. I have certain other future usage or future plans for it, which I'm just sharing it out. Basically, as I've already told you, I've configured a repository inside your machine, inside your VMs. So that will be used as a single point of supplying updates. You find a lot of applications like we have Smarty, Smarty, we have JDGUI, we have JAG. These all applications keep getting updated. But once you have downloaded a release, you don't even know that there is an updated version available. That's where I'll pitch in. I'll provide updated binaries through my update repository media. We have various other tools, like there is Ignitio, which is a very good source code analysis tool. Right now it only works on Windows applications. They've recently added the support for Android devices. I was planning to port it to Linux and provide it, but there are some dependencies on DLL because of which I'm not able to port it right now. But that's another future aim. We have a missing forensics section, wherein there is one talk which will be dealing with Android forensics. I'll be attending that, trying to find out what tools we can add on the forensics section. And as usual, if you know anything else which you think is cool and could be added to the collection, feel free to write a mail or inform me through any of the medias. I'll be more than happy to add it. And if you want to contribute, I'm more than happy to add new members. That's just the basic about me. Now, any question answers that we have? I think I bored them a lot. Yeah. Best? That's a bit tricky. I'm using a customized, self-customized version of Sony Ericsson Extend default ROM. So it's the default ROM. I've rooted it myself and I've customized it as per my need. So I've removed the unnecessary binaries, unnecessary APKs, added my own stuff, and I'm using that customized ROM. Best, there is no such thing as a best ROM. It more of depends upon where does your paranoid level ends. Yeah. I at least would prefer CyanogenMod because at least you can see the source code what is there. You have fully open source codes for CyanogenMod. You can go inside and look at what each application is made up of. That's one. People prefer MIUI, or there are a lot more other ROM options. But then you cannot say that this one is a safe ROM. Yeah, you were again by an XDA developer, a customized version of CM7, I suppose. Yeah, but then it's not available for all the devices.
Actually, pushing security per se, like since iPad and iPhone they are using the Android as OS. I just heard in the news actually, and Android is not as safe as it's supposed to be.
Depends on what do you classify as safe and which safety medias are you
looking at. The question is that how vulnerable is Android to attack?
As I said, there are few people who have attended my previous talk which was regarding security issues and Android custom ROMs. So it's basically an open market right now. Either you put your faith into someone else's hand or you do your own job. Similar to what Linux is all about. Similar to what Windows is all about. Similar to what any OS is all about. You put faith into someone else and hope that he has not made a mistake.
Obviously, yes. And this is based on Ubuntu, right?
My VM is right now based on Ubuntu 10.04 LTS release. Yeah.
Recently we added the Backtrack 5 which runs on iPhone and Android also. So will you be the VM that you have, will you be making that available on the cell phone also? So that your PC can work on the cell phone itself?
It would be a more cumbersome approach, I suppose. I'm planning to do something similar, not exactly on that line, but that will have to wait for around 2-3 months. Wait for Nalpan. I might have a surprise for you.
can I take out my existing ROM out of my device to do all sort of analysis?
Based on if your device is rooted or not. If it is rooted, you can actually extract it out. That's possible. That's a direct option. If you have a rooted device or you have a custom recovery installed, there is an option to take a backup. So when you take a backup, you actually get 3 or 4 different files. System.ilg, data.ilg, cache.ilg. These 3 files actually are the various folders inside your file system. So /system is kept inside system.ilg. That's where the unyafs tool, which I discussed, comes into picture. You can use the unyafs tool to decompile your system.ilg to extract all the folder contents. So that's there, but on a non-rooted device, I'm not sure.
Any file browser, if I could get it from market, which browses the system level?
Yeah, that's available. Root Explorer is there. There are a large number of file explorers which allow you to do all file browsing. The condition is, if you have root access, you can view all the contents. If you don't have root access, you can only see that there is a system folder, there is a data folder, there is a SD card folder, but you cannot move inside system folder, restricted areas, or data. Data is actually a folder which contains all the application related data, which is restricted to that application only. So you cannot browse around in it until and unless you are a root.
Okay. Is it like on Windows Mobile, even if you write an application, even if you have that SDK itself restricts you to browse through some system areas?
Yeah.
Does Android SDK stops you doing that?
See, you have been to Linux environment?
Not much.
Okay. In Linux environment, we have a permission model, wherein all the permissions are classified into user groups and others. So basically, all the folders which are to be restricted have a username which is actually the application, and they have the group name which is actually the application, and they don't have permissions for others. So basically, only the application can access that particular folder, or root user can access it, because he's the ultimate authority on that machine. There are the only 2 ways. To lock or logged? Locked bootloaders is actually a tricky stuff. Like I have seen various discussions going on regarding the extent bootloader which was logged. It got unlocked around 3 or 4 months back, but there were a lot of discussions going on, as in there are issues pertaining to legal side. Companies do not like it if you unlock the bootloader. Yeah. See, there are 2 ways. One is like if you look at the Google series, the Google Nexus or Google series, Google phone series, they have unlocked bootloaders. If you look at HTC, now they are unlocking the bootloaders. If you look at Sony Ericsson, they had a very rigid locked bootloader policies. They were not even allowing the source code to come out in the market. But now, for the 2011 and onwards phone, they are providing the unlocked bootloader capacities. So, for newer phones, yes, the companies are providing it. For others, there are 2-3 basic approaches. The bootloaders generally have a signing approach. They sign up your boot ROM and they check up the signature every time. So, you can look into the ways and means to bypass a certificate or create a fake certificate, which is not as easy as it sounds. So that is there, but yeah, bootloaders, if they are locked, are a pain.
This may be a little silly question because I'm not much familiar with Android.
Yeah.
But like the antiviruses or any security system that you have in an Android system. So because since Android is open source, basically you can edit everything. So does the antivirus have access to the ROM or not?
See, that depends on what permissions they are asking for.
So is that when you install it?
When you install an application on an Android device, you get a permission screen, which actually specifies that you are allowing this application to make calls, you are allowing this application to send SMSs, you are allowing this application to access root areas, whatever. Those permissions are listed out, and when you accept those all, then only the application is installed. So basically, you have to look at the permission model. If they are allowing it, if they are asking for it, yes, they can. And if they are asking for a root credentials or they are asking for root access, then yes, they have access to the whole system.
So if they have, if any of the systems have any rootkit detection system, then they are able to detect the rootkit that you've installed in the ROM.
That's actually bad. It should actually be, I should have an option to select various permissions. When you install an application on an Android device, you have a permission option where you have 10 or multiple number of permissions which an application is asking for. Either you accept all or you don't accept all. So it's all or none. So if you don't accept anything, application won't install. If you accept all, application get installed.
Does that include root?
See, routing is not actually
ROM. Does that include ROM access?
no, that will actually be routed through SU. So you get a root access and then you will access the ROM contents. Yeah. See, basically how routing works, I think there is some confusion on routing part. I'll just clear that out. Routing, basically, when we are talking about that we're routing a device, what we are actually doing is we have a running OS. We cannot switch user. We cannot switch our user mode to root user. Why we cannot switch it? Because we do not have SU binary available, which is actually the binary which allows you to change your user level. So when we talk about rooting a device, we are talking about running an exploit which actually gives us a temporary root access and then pushing the SU binary into proper path, giving it proper permissions, as in giving it sticky bit. And when we have set it that up, any application which wants to access root can just say runtime.run SU and you are inside root mode. So when we are talking about unrooting, we are actually talking about removing that SU binary. So that application itself cannot work now. Because application every time will call SU and then it will get back to the root mode. Yeah.
You said that custom ROMs that were downloaded by unsuspecting users leaked out all the information. Now, did that leakage primarily happen because there were some malicious apps configured wrong?
See, it's not that every custom application leaks out information. I'm just giving a case wherein people are finding lots of ROMs which are, I'll give you a correlatory example. Everyone uses Windows. Lots of them have pirated copies of Windows. Lots of them download those copies from various torrents. Are you actually aware that those torrents are from legitimate? Or there is no malware pre-embedded in those ISO files? Similarly, we have large number of custom ROMs, which are basically customization on a large number of levels. Are we actually aware that the custom ROM we are downloading does not have a malware installed in it? That's where the part where you can do an analysis comes in. And the information leakage, it actually depends upon what it is right now. Like carrier IQ, if we talk about carrier IQ, that was primarily for US region. US carriers were having that. Even in that case, if you have moved out from the stock ROM, which is the default installed ROM, if you have moved to Cyanogen, Cyanogen does not have carrier IQ pre-installed or pre-configured on it. Google phones do not have carrier IQ in it. So those are pretty much safe.
Any forum you know which gives pretty safe ROMs?
XGA developers have a good reputation. Till what I have checked in past 1 year, I have not found kind of an infection. But then you have to go by the names. There are 2 or 3 developers in every forum, every section of forum, which are considered as recognized developers, which have the basic ROMs. Like what happens is, let's say I'm a recognized developer on XDA. I publish a ROM. Now what happens is, someone just downloads that ROM, using this ROM kitchen, adds a malware, pushes it across as a customized version of my ROM. And now people are downloading it because that looks cooler than my ROM. So that's where the difference comes in. Whom you want to believe? You want to believe the actual author or you want to believe the person who has modified it? And if that person has a reputation behind it. Then again, it's actually a choice of your own. You are having a risk there. And same goes for the stock ROMs also.
Would such a malware uploaded by the kitchen be in the form of an app or some?
It could be anything. See, we were talking about rootkits. It could be as simple as you have a BusyBox installation, which is pre-rooted, or rootkit pre-embedded in it. Or you could have an APK installed on your machine. APK installation on a ROM level is as simple as putting an APK into a particular folder. That's it. That's all you need. Just reboot it, that application gets predefined permissions and is installed and ready to use. You don't even need to do that accept permissions screening.
So best practice would be if you are installing any APK, decompile it, check the code. If you are installing any ROM, use the kitchen, understand it, then go ahead. Right?
First option would be prefer authorized medias, go with your market apps. At least they have certain authenticity behind it. Then if you look at various custom ROMs, look at the background of the person. Understand if that app is that much. And then it also, there is one more aspect to it. You're trying to protect your system from malicious activities. Do you have the capacity to do malicious activities? You're having an Android phone which does not have an internet connection. You're only using it to call, and that too only you dial a number and that's it. There are very less chances that your device can actually cause malicious activities. So it also depends on what your use case is and what your paranoia level is. Like there was one question, what ROM you are using. I'm using my own self-customized ROM. Why? Because I do not believe on someone else customizing stuff for me. So I'm downloading the source code, I'm compiling it, and I'm using that particular ROM. Yeah? Yeah, I have already customized my own ROM. No, your question was audit source code.
You already did this.
You are trusting the source code you downloaded to create a custom ROM.
That I'm downloading from Google repositories.
You trust their servers to be safe.
Then you have the source codes, you can analyze them. At least you have the source codes, you have the capacity to analyze it.
Are you doing that since you are like an expert in this field?
No, I do not claim to be an expert on this field, but yes, I'm actually trying to look out what I'm installing. That's one thing that I'm trying to do. It's a, what we say, a very cumbersome practice, but yes, I'm trying to do it.
Second part of the question, do you monitor what kind of outbound data goes out of your phone?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
There are various proxies, like proxies are configured on it, and you can even have T-sharp available on your device. You can just keep it running in the background, it will create a PCAP file, you can analyze it later on.
Have you done that?
Yeah. Any more questions? Actually, the presentation was more of just the names, like these are available. The main motive I have not demonstrated anything out on a more concrete manner is we have 5 different presentations lined up looking at various aspects of all what I was discussing. So instead of me going through all the walkthroughs and wasting dual time of yours, I thought that, okay, I'll leave that part. You know that these tools are available, how to use it, how you can use it or handle it out, other presentations are there.
Don't worry, I did some live presentation, live demos instead of you. I wish people like that.
Alright. Yeah, that one I also like.
How
Yeah.
far is it like Linux? How far is it like Linux? Like I heard that they just rewrote Linux or the kernel from JavaScript using Java.
See, it's basically you have a Linux kernel, an ARM compiled version of Linux kernel optimized for ARM processors. That is part 1. Then you have a jar file framework which allows you to interact from a Java GUI framework to your kernel. So it's basically GUI in Java on top and Linux kernel on bottom. That's it.
So they use an actual Linux kernel.
They use an ARM compiled version. Yeah, it's a Linux kernel. They have some drivers or some headers added to it, which are required for device interaction. That's there, then it's the normal Linux kernel.
And now I request Mr. Asim Jhakar, founder of Null, to felicitate Anand.